Zero. Yeah, here we go. Hello, everyone. The purpose of this broadcast. Wow, I'm already getting another ping here. Welcome. The purpose of this impromptu broadcast is that I've been getting a bunch of notes today from people wanting to know how to use Bitcoin, and they don't know how, and they don't even know where to begin, which is a very interesting thing because on Amazon, there's 800 tutorials on Bitcoin. They're all over the web. But the point is, we don't really pay attention to these things unless we have a strong reason to. Bitcoin's going up in price. Suddenly people get interested in it because it's going up in price. It falls in price, and then people lose interest in Bitcoin. This is the way it always works. I mean, this is why people buy high and sell low. But hey, it's okay. To kind of acquire Bitcoin, just like there's a number of ways to acquire rhubarb pie or any other piece of property. You can sell your labor for Bitcoin and have it transferred to you. You can go to a local Bitcoin dealer. There's a really wonderful website called localbitcoin.com. And you can just look up your town, and you'll probably find somebody in town who's got Bitcoin who's glad to sell it to you for cash of whatever kind of nationalized government-based currency you happen to be trading in. They'll sometimes sell at a premium, which can range anywhere between 5 and as high as 40%, depending on who's there. And you sometimes have to meet in a special location, and it's kind of fun to do because you meet nice people who are kind of really interesting, and you might make up friends. You can go to a Bitcoin meetup anywhere. You can look them up and find out. There are Bitcoin groups probably in your hometown somewhere, and you can just go and hang out with them, and probably somebody will get you going. I highly recommend that you get it, because until you're an owner of Bitcoin, you can't really possibly understand what it's like to own a free market-based money that really works as property. It's not some sort of weird proxy for your identity, but it's a real piece of property that you own that you can spend anywhere online. So becoming personally invested in Bitcoin is the best way to start. So you can go to Meetup, you can go to local Bitcoins, you can buy and sell your services for Bitcoin. And there are plenty of Bitcoin exchanges online where you can go in and link your bank account to them. Or I think there's probably services available that you can use your credit card with. But the very first step, even before you do that, is to get a Bitcoin wallet. This is where people sometimes make a mistake, and I'm just going to mention a couple of things that people tend to do. My favorite app online is blockchain.info. That's a really great place to go. Another one, at least for Americans, is Coinbase. And there are many other services, and I don't want to just bias you towards those two, because I mean there's hundreds by now, and maybe Thor you can mention, and the other ones. But when you make your Bitcoin wallet, and this is the quick way to do it. It's the easiest way to do it. There are other ways to do it. There are always a million ways to skin a cat, right? But these are just the fastest ways. But when you do this, make sure of two really important things. One is to remember your password and your logins. That's extremely important. If you lose them, you've lost your money. So whatever password you choose, make sure that's really secure and that you have it written down somewhere that's really safe. And the second thing is that whatever app you're using on your smartphone, make sure that you mirror that same account with the online app. So for example, if you go to blockchain.info on your smartphone, download the application, and make a wallet for yourself, make sure you also go to the website and duplicate whatever you do on your application with the website, so that way if you're near a desktop you can log in. And if, for example, your cell phone is stolen, you're not sort of somehow out of luck. If you have that duplicated on your desktop, then you can always recreate your wallet on a new cell phone, on a new smartphone. Another thing to think about is to use, as you're registering for your application, as you're registering for your wallet, to always use it's used two-factor authentication. What that means is it gives you an extra layer of security so that you don't risk losing your money. So, for example, two-factor authentication just means that, like, if you want to spend Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin, it will send, for example, an SMS text message to your phone. That you have to enter that into your application or on the website, so that it really knows it's you. It's not just about stopping fraud. It's also about providing a personal check on you. Most of the errors associated with Bitcoin are user generated. We do dumb things. We start futzing with our thumbs. We get too quickly and press the send button. Suddenly you've sent 12 Bitcoin. You meant to send only 0.12 to somebody. Things like that. So sometimes having that extra layer of authentication is a good check on us personally. Now, once you get your wallet, you'll have your public address, and you can post that to people that want to send you money. You can put it on your Facebook account, put it on your Liberty.me profile, whatever it's going to be. But just remember that a public address for Bitcoin does not work like an email address or a physical address. There's potentially, you can create unlimited numbers of public addresses for yourself, every one of which applies to you. Any public address that's attached to a single wallet will always work for you. So you can choose one to post on Facebook or Liberty.me or whatever it's going to be, or your Twitter account or something. But you can still create additional public addresses for you, really an unlimited amounts of public addresses that still work for that same wallet. So that's how you get going with Bitcoin. Another thing is that Bitcoiners are like really dedicated to Bitcoin. So if you know a user, you might just say, hey, can you just send me a little bit? You know, they might just send you just a tiny amount, but still it's worth doing, because then you have it for yourself, and you get to feel like what it is to be an owner. Now, when you use Bitcoin, there are many different ways to do it. You can send your the money through a quick public just pasting a public key into a window that you have on your application that's running on your desktop, or you can also scan using a QR code. And maybe I'll should I hold this up? Yeah, maybe I will. I don't want to compromise my own security here, but let's say I want to download somebody's Bitcoin, and I want to request a payment. Then I just go like this, just hold that up, and then somebody can scan it. And oh, you're more than welcome to, by the way. Scan that, send me, actually it's too fuzzy. Oh, there we go. Send me Bitcoin. And then that sort of grabs your public address, and then people can send you Bitcoin. Or if you want to send to somebody, then you just scan from the QR code, and it'll come up, you know, with something like this, and you can send and scan somebody else's QR code. So the QR code is basically a kind of graphical representation of the public address, sometimes including the amount you want to send. And that's it. Then you can use it online. The first thing you notice, I'll answer that in just a sec. The first thing you notice about Bitcoin when you use it is that, as I said earlier, it's not like national money. It's not some sort of like debt-based proxy for your identity, which is increasingly what national money is. It's just like a sign. I mean, money used to be really cool in past centuries. Now it's really terrible. It's nothing but kind of a government-created ledger that represents something about your identity. Bitcoin is completely different. It exists independent of your identity. It's exchanged peer-to-peer. And you really, when you're sending Bitcoin, you don't have to cough up your social security, your number, your home address, your medical records, and everything else that compromises your privacy. You're really sending physical property. It's exactly as if I took this pen and trade it with the guy standing next to me. It's a piece of physical property. He doesn't care who I am. I'm like, here's your pen, and he gives me a buck, you know? That's the way Bitcoin works, except that same kind of physical transfer of property occurs without regard to geography. So we've got a weightless and spaceless system of sending money on a geographically non-contiguous basis to any other person in the world. So it's something like a miracle. It works through the blockchain. There's no reason for me to go into all the technology here. The whole purpose of this is to just kind of give you a tutorial. Now, where does Bitcoin stand in the world economy today? I can tell you, it's growing all the time. It's amazing. We've seen amazing advances over the last 5 years. It's only been around for 5 years, a little more than 5 years. But I can tell you, like with Liberty.me, for example, we've got about 18% of our new subscribers are subscribing with Bitcoin, and they just transfer the money right into the system, and they've got an email address, and they're ready to go. And I don't have to know anything more about where they live or their identity or anything else. So it's a beautiful way to kind of protect your identity and your property. And in a strange way, it restores money to what it was like maybe in the late Middle Ages, because it's like physical property, except that it does it with 21st century digital technology. So that's the whole of my tutorial. What have I missed? There are other things we could go into, like cold storage, being careful about not keeping too much money on your hot wallets, Bitcoin security issues and things like that. But my experience is that people need to worry about that kind of stuff at later stages, like after the first few weeks or months of using Bitcoin. The very first step is to actually get it and then kind of feel what it's like to use it. I can promise you this, no matter how much you've read about Bitcoin, no matter how much you think you might have known, you may have read 50 articles, you're being hammered every day with op-eds and all the rest of it, nothing can compare to what it's like to actually being an owner and throwing yourself into using it. That's when the light bulb really goes on, and that's when you become a partisan and a friend. I can always tell when I read articles by people about Bitcoin, but they're a little skeptical of it. You're reading through the article, and you kind of sense it. They're not actually an owner. They've never actually used it before. Is more than likely the case that that's true, because it seems scary. It seems intimidating technologically. They're afraid they're going to make a mistake, so they don't actually start using it. But until you become a user, you really can't figure out what the ethos is and how this stuff works. So that's always the first step, and Bitcoiners know this. That's why they're really generous in helping people get going on Bitcoin. Okay, I have finished my little quick tutorial. I've probably used more time than I wanted to. I wanted to go 5 minutes. I think it went like 10. Does anybody want to add anything quick? How about you, Thor? Are you still around, Thor? Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think you made a really good point about the thing about people being intimidated by the technology behind. And I used to say to people that, well, you don't understand the monetary theories surrounding central banking and stuff like that, yet you still use the currency, right? It's kind of comparable in that sense. I think it's a good point to make. But I think you covered most of the basics, and going beyond that would probably be too
much. Yeah. If somebody asks about privacy in Bitcoin, Coinbase requires a link to your bank account. Yeah, I mean, all that is true. There are workarounds. If you wanted to get really sophisticated, you could download the Satoshi wallet and avoid all these kind of things. But we pay our credit card bills the same way I pay my electrical bill by linking my bank account to it. PayPal does the same thing. It's not any more of a security problem than anything else we do with banks. And the beautiful thing is that once you buy from something like Coinbase with your money from your bank, once you have your Bitcoin, it can float around in the Bitcoin ecosphere completely pseudonymously, I guess you could say. It's not a perfectly anonymous system, although there are plugins that you can use to anonymize everything. But the buying and selling of Bitcoin, that uses your bank account if you choose to use those services. But the spending and using of the Bitcoin takes place within its own ecosphere, independent of any conversion back and forth with national monies. That's where the real advantages of Bitcoin come, when you live and use Bitcoin. And what can you do with it? I mean, these days you can go to the store. They're almost any major franchise in the United States can accept Bitcoin through an app called Gift, G-Y-F-T, and many of them will accept Bitcoin just directly. You can buy plane tickets with Bitcoin. There's just so much you can buy online. There's huge lists. We've got guides to this kind of stuff on Liberty.me, but there are many guides, all around. Hey, let me just mention one quick thing before we finish this up. If you have an iPhone, I have an iPhone. It's a pain in the neck. iPhone has now not just now, but I think maybe 6, 8 months ago, taken off all of its Bitcoin wallets off its app store. So when you're using Bitcoin with an iPhone, you have to use it through the Safari browser. And I would suggest blockchain.info, Coinbase, there are many others, Armory, but there's no app for it. Bitcoiners are way better off using the Android app, Android operating system on a Samsung phone or some other Google phone or something that uses Android, because it's just a more well-developed ecosphere, because it's more open source and more creative. Apple, to my mind, made a gigantic mistake. I still have my Coinbase wallet on my iPhone, but that's only because I downloaded it before they took blockchain off the App Store. So that's a kind of a consideration you have to think about. But again, I don't believe that anybody should rely on your smartphone exclusively for your wallet control. If that's all you have don't have access to a desktop, that's great, and that's true for many people in the developing world. But if you do have access to a desktop, it's good to duplicate the same wallet on the desktop that you have on your smartphone, so that you can have extra security. I can count like half a dozen people I know who used to have Bitcoin on their smartphone, and then something happened. They lost their smartphone. It broke. It fell in water and fell apart, and they could never recreate their wallets. So that's a really unfortunate situation. Always, too, when you make a smartphone wallet, make sure you put in your email address, and the reason for that is that you'll get an email back that will have your complete information, including your private keys. If you have that, then you can always recreate your wallet. If you've not put in your email address, you don't have a record of your private keys, and you can't recreate your wallet, especially if you can't remember your passwords. I mean, I say this only because I can tell you of so many people this has happened to. They take a shortcut, and they pay the price later. It's okay. You know, the one thing you have to remember is that we're at the early stages of this brilliant technology, and there's plenty of user error. I mean, the wallets aren't as sophisticated now as they're going to be in 10 years. I mean, that's just the way it is. It was the same thing with electricity and trains and every other great technology in flight and every other great technology we've ever had. They're full of user errors, and that's just what happens. There's no reason to freak out. Technology doesn't come to this world completed and a finished form for us to use. Everything's always in the development stage, and certainly Bitcoin's in the development stage, but that also includes a lot of risks going forward. I think I've covered everything. Does anybody else have anything to add? Thanks for showing up here. I really appreciate this. I just felt this kind of burning need to do this quick tutorial, so I would have something to send people, so that they could refer to something to help them going. Instead of repeating myself endlessly, I thought I would just make a video. So, anyone else? We're great. Well, thanks. I think most of you are members of Liberty.me, and I really appreciate your being here, and it's fun hanging out with you in our little digital city. So I really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for coming. If nobody else has anything to go, I'm going to go on Free Talk Live here in just a few moments, and I don't know what they're going to have to say.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My name's Bear. I've known about Bitcoin since about 2010, and I've been telling the world about it. Something that's just come up, listening to Andreas and you and Jeff and everybody about how this is money for the other 6 billion, how this helps everybody on Earth. And so through Facebook, I met these people online from Ghana, Students for Liberty. Have you heard of them?
I know all about Students for Liberty. I know all about the Ghana chapter, absolutely.
Okay, well, I'm in contact with Nana over there. We're wanting, just the way things gelled, and because of the way I talk about Bitcoin, I mean, literally, it's my life now. And so I'm now, and just the last couple of days, I'm going to be going to Ghana in August. I live in California right now. I'm going to become a permanent tourist to speak on Bitcoin wherever I can, and I'm going to help them. I'm going to start. I've already got Jeff Berwick involved. He's going to help promote this, We want to get Bitcoin ATMs, computers, and information to the Ghanaian people, and get Bitcoin started in if it isn't already, in Africa. And they are really, really excited about this. And so I've written emails to Cliff High, talked with Jeff on Facebook. I was going to be contacting you. I know Andreas is hugely busy, but this to me is the most exciting thing, to get the banking into the people's hands and get it away from the central bankers. So I just wanted to put that out there, that there's going to be a big conference in August. I'm going to be speaking at it, and just getting more and more involved in the Bitcoin world.
It's amazing what it means. What Bitcoin has revealed to us is that there really is an iron curtain that's fallen over the world between the haves and the have-nots. And the haves have bank accounts and credit cards and access to the cartelized financial banking system, and the have-nots are excluded because they happen to live in the wrong IP addresses, or don't have banks nearby, don't have credit cards, and don't have access to worldwide division of labor, therefore doomed to exclusionary existence and poverty, where their talents are going to waste. So if Bitcoin can become a really truly global currency, what it means is the inclusion of billions of new people into the great project of building civilization. And that is an ominous and exciting prospect. It's going to make the fall of the Berlin Wall, the reforms in China, the lifting of the Iron Curtain over Eastern Europe, the collapse of the Soviet Union look like nothing. If we can include all these wonderfully talented, creative, dedicated people into the global economy for the first time ever, we're going to see an explosion of prosperity that's going to take the world by just shock and storm. It's going to be an amazing thing. It's a tool of liberation for humanity. So thank you so much for your work in Ghana, and it's just the beginning. So thank you.
No, it is. It is just the beginning, Jeff. And I want to get, and I got the idea from listening to Andreas, getting solar-powered Wi-Fi spots, and getting it to where these people can all communicate with each other in the way that the developed world does, like this. And that's what's so exciting about this, is decentralizing this and getting them all involved in this. And I want to tell you, there is a lot of very intelligent people there that are just now getting the grasp of what Bitcoin means for them. Yeah. That's why I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, and it's just the beginning, like you say. It involves the entire world. I think we're going to be looking more and more as the pre-digital age and the pre-Bitcoin age as the dark ages. I think that's what our future is going to be. It's going to be bright and beautiful. Well, thank you for your work, and I'm going to hop on another call. Thanks for being here, and all the best to all of you, and thanks for showing up today.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
What a nice